to me. No, we're that boy. You know.
Compared to North Dakota on a bad day, we're Sunny Beach.
Yeah, that's a big difference. This is a huge difference. Yeah.
But these polar vortexes, and we only get a dip like that in a polar vortex.
Okay, right.
It is, but we are going to have a weird year. We have an unusual weather situation in Alaska right now. Alaska hasn't frozen yet.
Oh.
That is really bad because the temperature of the air, and remember, we're on a ball. Earth isn't really flat. When one area of air gets hot, it expands, it gets light, other air rushes underneath it, and because the Earth is spinning, things can't move straight. They get all whirly and moving around, and that causes more and more chaotic weather. Chaotic weather leads to the loss of consistency in the air, jet streams, and the cold air just rushes down. So if we have this extreme weird weather in Alaska, we're at extreme high risk for weird weather here. And so the conversations between the weather scientists, we're off the books. They don't know what to predict right now.
Wow. Really? Wow.
Right. We are so far out of because we have an El Nino hitting. And so we're going to have this warm weather here. Warm weather means that more moisture from the Gulf will sashay north. Well, when we do get a cold spell, that could be bad, very bad. So that we suddenly have this sinking of air, and again, more swirling, and we could be looking at some days. So most of our days now this winter are expected to be above 10 degrees above zero.
Wow.
Maybe even above 20. So we might have a lot of you don't need jacket days here in Iowa this winter. And during 1979, we had, no, that's not right, that's 79. 87, we had a very warm winter. And that was followed by just devastation. And then the following year, we had this heat wave. But so if we have a nice warm day and we get our bodies adjusted to the nice warm day, and suddenly we get a polar vortex that can take us down to the minus 30s or minus 40s, we can't handle it. That's not.
I'll be right back. I forgot I left some laundry. Yeah.
Okay. I was just looking at this Mint Press article about what all was purged from Facebook.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That'd be interesting to.
Well, I noticed that your show was just constantly throttled from YouTube.
Mine?
Yes, tonight. Just kept seeing the word on my side.
Really? On YouTube?
Yeah,
Maybe because Tim showed up? He's the one that, I mean, we don't have that many people that watch. I mean, unless it's the candidates with a contract.
I did not think, for the number of viewers, you should not have been choked.
Huh.
Now, an option I've seen is Microsoft will actually let you use their computer where you call it up like you're looking at a website. You have full control of what you're doing, but you have their big pipeline that doesn't choke.
Interesting.
That might be an option.
Huh.
Well, and there's other services like that too, but I don't think you'd use them.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just surprised that we've been allowed to, all this stuff has been allowed to keep going on YouTube, I mean, I'm stunned that we haven't been put in Facebook jail ever for this,
Yeah, it's a little odd, to be honest. It's a little strange. I would have imagined that some of the stuff that we put up would have been taken down.
I just don't.
Something, yeah. It's
now that Tim showed up, we might. But I just don't think we've had the visibility. Nobody's.
Yeah, I think that's true too.
I'm thinking that this is going to be the last election that television is relevant. The presidential election.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
The next television election after that is going to be irrelevant.
It's been.
Aren't going to trust them anymore. The kids are taking up a larger portion of the population. They're angry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Even if they take away their cell phones, they're going to have word of mouth. And I think we're at that stage where word of mouth is going to snap back and be the issue. And just as I get angry when I see $50 to $100 worth of ads coming to my things. I was supporting a candidate and she started dumping me with $100 a week in ads. And I'm like, why did you waste the money?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, and I'm still thinking like, oh, okay, I don't want to go for her opponent because he's as bad as Trump. But again, it puts me in a very angry state of mind that every dollar that I gave was wasted.
Right. Right. Well, I want my money I gave to Bernie. Really?
Don't we all?
Yeah. Where did that actually? Well, it just got sucked up into the DNC, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's basically yes.
The joint agreement for raising money.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's
I think I gave about $50 to Bernie. I had 2 or 3 different.
Oh, I think I gave him at least 200 or 300.
Oh, really? I didn't do that much.
At least 200 or 300.
50 to like tops for me, something like that.
And I did a lot of phone banking for Bernie. I don't know how many, but a lot. I did a lot of phone banking.
Oh, I should have mentioned this when Tim was on. I saw in the email that came out from his campaign today that you can sign up to do phone banking, from anywhere. So yeah, you don't have to be there in Florida.
Now I don't have a job. I will.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me see. It is. Hang on. I thought it was in this one. I'll have to find it. I thought it. Hang on. I thought I had it here because I pulled it up. It's through OpenVPB. Join a phone bank. Hang on, I'll find it. Not that anybody's listening still, but I want to share this. If you have time, yeah, definitely do it. Maybe it was.
Interesting.
Okay, here we go. Making phone calls.
Oh, that's no.
Let's see. I guess I'll put. Where could I put this link? Oh, just go to timcanova.com, and I think it'll take you to it under Get Involved.
Yeah. I
think if you. Oh well, no. Where is that? The direct link to it. Okay, if you go to openvpb.com, and then there's a code. Hang on. Well, darn, now I can't find it. Ugh. Anyway, I guess you have to go to his website. I can't. Maybe you have to enter your own information in here. I guess that's what it is. Yeah. So they can track who's making phone calls.
Right.
Because it could be, could be the enemy. So yeah, okay, maybe that's what you have to do. But anyway, then they give you a code and you put it in on this openvpb.com, and you can make calls. So.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I just had this sense, when I was down there, like, wow, if he, and I started looking at the numbers, it's like if he won. I mean, he has a chance of winning, and it looks like he did win in 2016 based on those graphs, But that would just be such a big deal for all the rest of the candidates. It makes it possible. It gives, it's that big win that I think independents need. And I don't know, maybe it sounded like Nick Thomas in Colorado has a pretty good shot too. But there aren't that many, honestly, because it's just hard. Third party. Or non-party, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I've been there 3 times.
Yeah, you're familiar.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. Well, I do think definitely, Rich, after the election, we need to get people on board. Maybe you could send out your information so people have time to sort of digest it all rather than just putting it up, and we can do that on the screen share, but so people can read all of what you've done and your ideas, maybe beforehand, before they come on. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's really difficult. There's a lot to wrap your arms around.
Yeah.
It's the local pages, there's about maybe 50 pages. The states about maybe 50. The nationals about maybe 30 or something like that. 33 pages. 35 pages that are there. You know, that serve different functions and that kind of thing.
Right. Well, I think it's kind of like the election integrity stuff. When I first started looking into it, it's just kind of overwhelming. You know, you've had your head down in it for 30 years, as you say, so it's clear to you, but I think maybe it's not as clear.
Well, the things that are important about it is that there's no money involved.
Right.
It's sweat equity, and people, one of the things that bothers me is, can people do it? Are they capable of doing it? We might end up having, like, my house would be a place where you put up, you edit web pages and have people put them up, and put them up for people, you know. I don't know how many people out there can actually do it technically, you know, be able to handle the information and the technical part of actually editing the pages. But I have some instructional sheets that about editing pages and et cetera, you know. And when I get the package together, I'm gonna send you a copy of it.
Okay.
And Brian, you too, and maybe Mitchell, maybe you can take a look at it and say, well, is this something people can really grasp and put their hands into and do by themselves, you know, or is it going to take somebody who's pretty well educated, you know? There's a guy who's running, he's a German who is a software person, and he lives here in town, and I get the package, I'm going to get together with him. He's a Green Party person, and he was going to run as a Green Party person for state rep here, no, state senate, and he ended up not getting on the ballot, you know. So that's another thing that in Kentucky, they have one form that's good for doing petitions for state rep, state senate, for Congress, for mayor, it's just going to be a multi-purpose kind of thing for independents. You know, you can use it for almost any kind of office. Right. And have a blank for that, and the IVA could make that available to people. Say, hey, you know, if you want to run for office, here it is. This is how you do it. Telling people, how do you run for office as an independent? Because that's something people are totally ignorant of, you know. If we make that information available, there's going to be a whole lot more people run for office as independents. It'll make it so that it's something that's a thing. It's really a thing that people can do, you know. If people win, then all of a sudden it's a thing you really can do. You can do it and win, you know. Right.
Wow. So, wouldn't that be something if, like...
It could snowball so that, hey, guess what? We're throwing the Democrats, Republicans out of office. We're going to take over the system, you know. Sorry. I mean, and we need to get about 10% of the offices in order to make that happen, to make it really have an effect, you know, that we can actually start having, running the agenda in legislatures, state legislatures, and in Congress. If we had 10% of the people, then that would be possible.
Now, do you want to talk a little bit about Unite America? What is your feeling on it? What's your feeling on it? Do you feel like, I know you were going to go to that convention in August, but you didn't, right?
Yeah, I wasn't able to go. Yeah, okay. It was in Rocky Mountain High, Colorado.
Yeah. All right. But I mean, do you feel like, I mean, my worry is kind of, I think that was Nick Thomas that said that, like that it, you know, can become its own party, and then you've got the same problems as anywhere else. What is your feeling about that group specifically?
My feeling about Unite America is that they have a lot of people. They have the independent. They make the independent approach sound feasible and palatable, and they have this thing where they ask people to donate. $20.14 is one of the numbers on there. I think they're trying to do a thing like a Bernie thing, like $27, you know, or whatever, you know, $20.14. So, you know, they had people do that, you know. It's a thing, you know. But
yeah, like TYT did.
if you have the United, they are having a lot of people join it, and they're interested in it. There's a lot of stuff there. Now, if you could get United America to take a package from the IBA and have people put up those pages in precincts all over the country, then that would be, we could work as a team with them. It'd be teamwork. You'd have those web pages could be something which would be a free thing for people to get involved with.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know.
And sort of ignore the money aspect of it and the top-down control aspect. That was a big problem in the Reform Party, because a lot of people in the Reform Party were constantly complaining about Thoreau trying to make it a top-down organization, so everything, all the direction and procedures were all coming down, dictated from the top, you know. And this is something that the IBA makes it so you're a web page manager in your precinct, you're in charge.
Right.
You are the number one leader in the whole mess. You know? Power
in hands of people. I just don't, I haven't looked at this in a while, and I'm just scrolling through the Unite America Facebook page, and I'm not, I feel like it very much has that old flavor of how we thought of independence as kind of, you know, well, I made the comment earlier.
Let me share a page with you.
Okay. I made this comment earlier, I think it was in our interview with Nick Thomas, was that what we don't want is this independent to mean some lukewarm nothing in between Republican and Democrat where you end up with Tim Kaine. Like, that's not what we need.
That's not what I want to share,
but that's a great...
Because it won't make a difference.
Yeah, right.
Right, buddy, right. Okay, but that's not share. Okay, where's it? Okay, I'm going to stop that share and find the right one.
This Unite America is looking more and more just very...
Wait, no, it's not that one. Let's see, where the hell is it?
Not really. I agree with you. This country over party, I don't like that slogan.
Okay, here we go.
People over party.
I'll move this down here. Okay, where did I put it? No, that's darn. Where is it? Let's see.
I mean, it's great if Unite America wants to support, you know, get behind independent candidates, but if it becomes an operation like a party, I'm not. Yeah, I remember
they are not interested in operating as a party, but they don't know how to. They don't have anything that provides a structure for people to do. You know.
What really turned me off to it, at first I was excited when I saw it, and then kind of turned me off was there was this guy, and I can't remember his name, and I should, but they were doing a Facebook Live thing, and he just kept saying, well, people are tired of the two-party system, and we need a middle of the road, and it was very just canned, like, platitudes of, almost like that's a gimmick, you know. It was really just, he wasn't saying much of anything. He wasn't offering anything. He was just getting cheers from people, you know, saying, people are sick of both parties. Woo. I mean, how many times can you say that? You got to still offer something. What does that mean? What are you going to? How are you going to be different?
Did you see that little thing they do where they show that you can take over the Senate in Congress by winning 5 seats or 3 or 4 or 5 seats, and then you can be the vote that sways the vote in the direction toward the centrist idea, not the left or right.
To see that whole centrist.
That's what the centrist project is all about: electing senators, a small number of senators to Congress in order to be able to sway the vote.
Yeah, I don't know.
The problems, you know, and that's something it's something I talk about on my web pages too. Is taking 10% of the House seats. If you get 44 House seats and 10 Senate seats, then those people can influence what's happening in legislation. You can direct what's happening in legislation with that number of people that are not left or right. You know, that are not partisan. So that's a valid principle, I think, because it's just like, well, if it took 2/3 to confirm a Supreme Court justice, then Kavanaugh or Kavanaugh would not be a Supreme Court justice right now.
Mm-hmm.
If he had to be elected by 2/3, you know, or nominated by 2/3,
mm-hmm.
then he wouldn't have been. A lot of the justices would not have been on court.
Mm-hmm.
But this page that we're looking at right now, this is that is a Declaration of Independence.
Right.
First, we put public interest ahead of any partisan or special interest. Good principle.
Mm-hmm.
Second, we use common sense and find common ground to solve problems. Good principle.
Mm-hmm.
Third, we stand for the timeless values of opportunity, equality, and stewardship. Another good principle. Fourth, we champion competition, transparency, and accountability in politics. It's all kind of stuff there. I mean, all kind of reforms or whatever. Mm-hmm. Fifth, we believe in the shared responsibility of civic engagement. Everybody should vote. That 66% doesn't vote, they should vote. You know, it's something about, as Americans, we understand it's our civic duty to be informed and engaged on important issues. Well, any issue, all issues, really. As independents, we encourage increased citizen participation in our political process and service to our country. That means for most people to go out and vote and know what about candidates. But if you had Democrats or Republicans who were bought by big interest, then you don't have a vote, you know, because as long as those people are not listening to the issues, they're listening to whoever gives them money, then things are going to change, stay the same for the next 300 years.
Yeah.
You have more and more dead zones because of all the agricultural runoff and all this kind of stuff. The country's going to go to hell and it's going to go, you know, it's going downhill unless we get people who are responsible in Congress and in state legislatures. So these 5 principles here. This is a Declaration of Independence. Now this is what their page looks like. This is my page on my campaign thing. This is theirs.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Did you see that or whatever? See now that is a board the guys signed, and that's the fifth 5 principles there. And you go down here. Here's a place to sign up. Declaration of Independence. And down here's the Declaration of Independence. And this is what I put. I copied this and put it into my web page on my campaign. You know. This is the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. That's the 5 principles that they have in their Declaration of Independence. You know, so
yeah, I mean, I think all of that is
a good document. It's a good document, I think.
Yeah, all of that is really good. I don't know, Brian and Mitch, if you guys remember, one night, it was a while back, Aeolus was on and we talked about it because the guy that's, I guess, was part of starting this Unite America is a Dartmouth professor by the name of Charles Whelan, and he wrote, it's called the Centrist Manifesto. And I don't know.
That's where he talks about that principle of electing 5 or 6 senators that can sway the vote, can direct what happens on legislation.
I just think we're in a new category now of what is or not new category, new all these things mean, they don't mean what they used to. What is centrist? What is the real center? Because if you're talking about the center between the current Democratic Party and the current Republican Party, that isn't center. That's not where most of America is anywhere near. It's
actually far right.
Yeah, it really is.
By most metrics.
Yeah, and so I think that becomes kind of hard to define. And I just, like I said, I was excited about this organization, and I became less so as I looked at it more. I feel like it's the old definition of independent, and I think independent should mean what it says. It's, you know, maybe you're more left leaning or whatever, but you're independent of party, of big money. You are there to represent the people, and you know, I don't know. Just it seems like kind of old, old categories.
Well, left and right. The people in this group, the guys who are talking right here, I think we all tend to be sort of progressive. You know, we're not conservative. We're not ultra conservative. The people who are talking here.
Oh, right. No, but I think some of the people.
But see, progressives, they want the left and right are what the fight is all about. This, as long as you have closed primaries and you have more progressive, or they talk about progressive things in the Democratic Party, but they take money, so they are compromised. They don't do progressive things anymore.
Right.
They're definitely not Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had him back in there for another 4 or 5 terms. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I mean, right
Yes.
now progressives don't get anywhere because the Democrats are taking money. They're bought.
But see,
The Republicans are way over on the right. They're trying to establish a what is that? A religious state, you know?
yeah, but what? Okay.
Theocracy is what they want to do, you know.
So Nick Thomas, who we got to talk to this week, had been on recent, or I don't know, last 2 months in an interview with Cenk Uygur on TYT. And Cenk asked him this question, which I thought was just ridiculously stupid. But he's like, how are you possibly going to get the Republican votes? What planet are you on? I mean, and especially Colorado. I mean, I don't know Colorado that well, but I don't think of it as, the evangelical Southeast. I mean, to me, the idea that Cenk thought it was preposterous that anybody that voted Republican would vote for this independent was just, I don't know, it was just ignorant. Like, of course he could get Republican votes. Of course he could get, maybe he could get votes.
Tea Party people and Trump voters are populists.
Well, but there aren't, but
represented, and those votes are up for grabs.
Well, they are, but what else is up for grabs is the people that voted for Obama twice and then voted Trump. The thing I'm always saying, the listen liberal stuff. I mean, those people are out there. I think that's a large chunk of the population, honestly, that they just don't. Maybe they fell for Trump because they thought he would drain the swamp, but. Anyway, I don't know. I just thought it was silly that Cenk asked that.
I voted for Trump for the trade issues because he would do something about the trade. He didn't, the TNT, the TTT, or whatever it is, over the Pacific Trade Agreement.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's going to block that. That would be enough for a lot of union people to vote for Trump because the Democrats aren't doing anything about it, you know.
Right.
A lot of people had the opinion they would rather go for somebody that might screw them against somebody that they knew was going to screw them.
Right.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's.
I mean, at risk of being, I don't want to feel like being attacked by the rabid vote, any blue will do people, because I didn't vote for Trump and I wouldn't, but I understand that there are people that did, and like this woman I met in Target like 2 weeks ago and started talking politics. She said she finally had told me I voted Trump, and I know a lot of people that did, and they don't want to admit it, even when they get phone calls like. Tell the polling that they didn't want to say. So,
So they don't admit it, even in the polls.
Right. But it was an anti. I mean, we know how that went on both sides. But anyway, hang on, I'll be right back.
Well, I think it was more of an anti-establishment vote than it was an anti-Hillary vote.
Exactly.
Hillary was
That's exactly it.
Hillary is the establishment. The Clintons are the establishment. I didn't want to see Bill Clinton in the White House for a third term.
Right.
I sure as hell didn't want him in there. I did, because that's against the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a lot of respect for my cousin that decided to vote for Trump over Hillary because she could not tolerate the crime of her stealing the election.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the most important thing for her. She was a veteran, and she was, I cannot support that crime.
Right.
Yeah. And
what crime now?
Stealing.
The stealing of the election. The absolute buying of. I can't believe that that's not being prosecuted myself. Mm-hmm. But like I said, my cousin was honest about it.
Rich, do you want to hit stop share? Sorry, Mitch.
No problem. She's extremely thoughtful in everything she does. How can you put her as being evil in any way? One of my most helpful cousins helped me getting through with my father, and she honestly said that I cannot vote for Hillary. For her, it wasn't even the fact that it was Bernie; it was the fact that she did the crime.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Rich, do you want to stop share on your screen?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Now, if the share is stopped, I have a second. I'll pop one up here.
Okay.
Do you have your cell phones ready?
Yes.
When you're dealing with giving anybody any kind of literature, and you got to remember, electronics are important. Make sure you have a QR app on your phone, like QR Lightning, but you probably already do have something that'll read barcodes or QR codes. A lot of phones already have them on there because for shopping.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share a screen.
Okay.
This is how quick and easy one of these can be prepared. Okay, do you see a black screen with a little white square?
Yeah, square thing. It's not a barcode. That's what kind of code? It's a
QR code.
A what?
QR code.
QR code. Yeah, right.
Now, if anybody has a QR code reader up and ready to go, you can get one. Lightning QR is the one that's the most compatible with most phones. It's easiest to use. So you probably could go to your application store on your phone and pick it up. It's free. It's called Lightning QR.
Unfortunately, I'm currently charging my phone, so I don't have it handy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good one to remember. And you can use it at grocery stores. You can use it for getting free coupons, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
wait, what should I do? I'm sorry, my niece just texted me. What did you say?
Take a picture of the screen with the
QR. Okay.
Now?
Yeah, just take it. It'll go on, and you'll see how quickly I was able to have a QR code that you can include at the bottom of your literature. So if you hand anything, a piece of paper, you got a business card or anything, want to see my link, want to get to my donate, want to get to anything else, beep. That's how quick and easy it is. Kelly, you already see the website?
Uh-huh.
Well, if I just took a picture of that, what do you do with that?
Well, the picture has to be a QR reader. So you'll need to load an app called QR or Lightning QR.
Okay, what does that code right there go to?
That takes you to your page that you were just
showing. It just did. That was cool.
To my page?
Yeah.
Yes.
Show your screen if you can. Just put your phone up to the phone.
Oh.
It's all white.
Sorry.
Is that
see? Yep.
That's your page.
Yeah. All I did was take a...
That is how quick and painless you can create QR.
I get there.
Very cool.
Oh, here it is up here. Oh, here we go.
I'm going to take the share off. Or if you're ready, I'll take the share off.
Okay, I've got a picture of it.
Okay, but if you had the QR code reader, it would have taken your phone immediately to the website.
Which website?
Yours.
I
programmed it to take it to your website. That image. You show it to somebody else's phone, and it will take them as long as they have a QR reader loaded on their phone. Yeah. And these days, a large portion of the population has a QR reader on their phone.
But I don't know, how do you use a QR reader?
Kelly just did it.
You point your phone at it?
I just took a picture with the camera.
Oh, you just take a picture and then that goes to the...
Now, she has an Apple, which I think is automatic in the QR code.
Oh, okay.
I guess so. Hang on. I got it.
I need to have the program on my phone, and then when I take a picture, it works.
Yeah, and it's QR Lightning, or Lightning QR. Lightning.
I'll get that loaded on my phone and see how that does.
And you can get it from the Google Store.
My Google Store? Okay.
Do you have an Apple or do you have an Android?
I have an Android, so it'd be off of...
Google Store.
Yeah, Google Store. Yeah, it's worked,
Yeah, Lightning QR, it should have good ratings. But again, you could use this when you're shopping. A lot of food these days.
Yeah.
You pick up the package, and there'll be a QR code on it. It'll take you to the nutrition information for food you bought, all kinds of information.
Yeah. Okay.
But, as far as having a piece of literature is expensive. So having a QR code with you means that I can have my little back of my card, whatever, up a QR code, and I'd say you can take that. And if I give somebody a piece of paper, most likely it's going to go to garbage.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go to the restroom and be back in 3 minutes or 2 or whatever. You know.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be back.
Yeah, you should definitely come. Are you working on the weekend? Or
So, I was thinking, that the ideal way to do this is to have the thread ribbon and to run 2 virtual machines and go in. And I find that through Microsoft, you can already do this. Now, with the advantage with you guys is that you have these limited pipelines of how much data you can get through.
Right.
So we're worried about it. But Microsoft has a big pipeline.
Yeah.
So they're not going to throttle.
Right.
So you run the Zoom or OBS on a virtual machine at Microsoft. And then our calls go to Microsoft.
That makes sense, right?
We have no loading on our local networks except for your own signal alone.
Right.
All the combination and whatever, and it's really cheap. And so I think
How cheap? So this is going through Microsoft, and they're allowing that?
Yes, to build the developer base, they're allowing it. You might even be able to do it free.
No kidding.
Yeah, they're trying to get more people using Azure, Azure. Azure. Maybe it's an AS. It's AS or AZ. But sign up through that services, and I'll see if I can find more information on that. And but I think it's because of your limited bandwidth, you can't handle stuff coming in and then pumping it all back out, and Kelly can't either. So without buying $5,000 of new equipment, this will allow you to get going.
Gotcha.
Okay. Bye, Alan.
I think Stevie's there. We'll get together after this. So she wants to talk about the water project.
Okay.
If
Even
anybody-
as we're sitting here, I'm working on it now.
If anybody wants to come in, we can share the Zoom link. Sorry, that was my niece calling, so I just step away. But if there's do we have anybody in the YouTube chat? I guess we could post it there and see.
We've got Garden, Rainbow Boom.
We can just put it. You know what? We'll do. We did it last time and we didn't get trolled.
Yeah.
Do we dare try it again?
We don't have a candidate up this time.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and share it.
Okay. I think it's also Twitter where it was really the problem. I don't know.
But trying to develop new pieces of equipment. Okay. Florida is going to be an extreme problem filtering water. Right. It might even be worse than California.
Really?
Because right now the water is so precious in California
yes.
that it takes 4 gallons to purify 1 gallon of water.
Right.
Well, Florida is going to lose their aquifers totally. Within 8 years, we're probably not going to see any fresh water available in Florida that isn't processed first. So they don't have the water to start with. So first they're going to have to make fresh water. Then they're going to have to purify it. And so we don't currently have people in place that are going to be willing to say anything about Florida to be able to start getting what they need done. People I know that are in water purification, they can't do Florida. They don't want to. I mean, they're looking at all kinds of things to do Florida. Things to do. There's a process called flocculation, where you sacrifice a material, you put it in the water, and it absorbs something that's bad in the water, and then you remove the flocculant.
Right.
And already in Florida, they're like, even flocculation alone is not enough to clean up the Florida waters. And now with the inundation, you got the salt. Handling the salt, it just overwhelms our row membranes. So just every year that goes by, we're losing more and more options to film. And yesterday I was talking with Graham Elwood. It's not up yet, but in California, they were talking about using dry urinals for Florida. And then, using that to the sewage. And I said, well, there's an ecological problem there.
Right.
Is that the sewers need 9 to 10 liters of water, fresh water, for every liter of urine that goes into it. Or when the sewer dumps to the ocean, you're going to have a eutrophication problem. Is that the ocean itself taking the sewage can't handle it. So we can't just create one other disaster trying to solve getting the water.
No.
So, we don't have politicians in office that are willing to talk about these issues. Because when you talk about anything bad in your state, you drive down real estate values.
Mm-hmm.
If I say that there's some type of material that the cows are licking off the grass when they're grazing, you cut down dairy products, you cut down meat. I know that Tim is a vegan, but again, even vegan products get hurt by, if I say there's certain materials in there that are sucked up by the tree that are making the food. So once they're in office, they're pressured by their voters, whatever. Don't do anything to upset any people doing business with us. So you need a candidate like Tim, who's say, okay, this is bad. We've got to work on this problem, rather than saying this is bad. This will cut our land values. I better shut up.
We don't need a real estate guy like Trump that's always worried about his.
Yes, good point.
But one thing, we go into Congress. How many people in Congress are actually people who are trained scientists? The
only one I know is Bill Foster.
Who?
Bill Foster.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's up there with, I would say, near Hawking. Bill Foster is the discoverer of the top quark.
The what?
Top quark.
The top quark, really?
Yes. Now
he's in Congress?
Yes. That is.
That's amazing.
Yes, because that is part of a hadron. And it's CERN. What the leading technological research is into hadrons. Yeah,
right.
Well, Foster's the guy that discovered one of the main components of a hadron. So.
Wow. Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's in state legislatures and Congress, there's very few people in there who can actually understand the physical problems that are being talked about. They don't really have any scientific background. Some of those people, but they don't have any at all. They don't have an understanding of it. They've never been in a laboratory and see that things are very exact. That they've never measured things and see how science works. They don't really understand that you don't change that. That's physical law.
And Foster wasn't just a guy that sat around in a lab. He also ran Fermi Lab.
Well, that's sort of amazing.
So majority, I do agree. Majority of Congress don't understand science. There are some that.
Yeah, but they really, we need more people with scientific backgrounds in Congress,
Hi, Greg.
Hello, Greg. You're just a name. Come on.
I haven't talked to Greg in a long time. He was part of the Draft Bernie group when we used to host the burn storms, and he came on a couple times. I think he got busy working 2 or 3 jobs. Greg, are you there?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Am I clear?
Yep.
Yes, very clear.
Cool, nice. I joined these last year, but I haven't been around for a while.
Yeah,
I remember you guys though. I remember Brian and Mitch, scientist guy.
Yes.
And Rich Stevenson, he was a candidate who's run as a Green and an Independent. And do you want to introduce your?
Oh well, I've been a candidate for Congress 3 times on the ballot. 2 times as a Green. 1 time as a Natural Law Party person.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And I've been trying to get on as an independent here in Kentucky, and haven't done it yet. But I have plans to change the independent situation in Kentucky very soon.
So Greg lives in a much more rural part of North Carolina, about an hour. What is it? An hour north of where I am, Greg?
Yeah, about like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's well, it's not all red, but it's...
No, it's I don't know. You might say it's purple or something, but the way I used to describe it, I think, is, I mean, there's not. I've never really noticed any real left. It's more you're either blue or you're red. Not like a specific, real issues-oriented politics. I've never noticed that here at all. More, it's more tribal, I guess.
Yeah.
So have you been following the People's Party stuff at all, or are you really not following them?
Not very intensely. I still like the message, and I mean, I haven't really changed much. But still interested in a lot of the same things and all.
Yep. Just got busy working a lot, huh?
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Have you made plans to leave your small town yet?
Not really.
No? Okay.
I don't know if I'm content to leave my small town. I think I just want to go to fucking Canada or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not supposed to say bad words. Do we have any rules here?
No. This is...
There's like, what, 7 people watching?
Yeah, no, we're not. When we...
Yeah, fuck them. Pardon my language, man. I'm sorry.
Right.
If a candidate wants to do that during the interview, that's up to them. I don't care. But I tend to clean it up for that. But when we're doing streaming to the one of the Facebook pages for CFAR or candidates with a contract, we don't talk quite as freely. I mean,
right.
Who's that guy? Bill, what's his name? It's on HBO, I saw his anniversary show. It was on Friday night.
Are you really bringing up Bill Maher? Do you want to open up that can of worms?
Well, I like him, actually.
No.
I think he's funny. I think he's a funny man.
Okay. Let me tell you.
He does speak up and he speaks his mind.
Let me tell you. Yes, he does. And he talks out of both ends of his both orifices. I am a former Bill Maher fan. I took a picture at one point and put it on Twitter of me throwing away the ticket stubs in my trash can and said I was done because what language now. What pissed me off was, I started to see it actually probably February of 2016 that he was just going to kowtow to the establishment, to Hillary, right? But so I was already like, and I had already started seeing, he contradicts himself all the time. And his panel, a lot of why I watched it wasn't so much him, although the new rules at the end used to be funny, but it was the panel discussions because he would have some really great people on there. You'd learn a lot. And I started noticing that circle kept kind of closing, like, and fewer variety of people seem to want to come on. And, his stuff when he gets into Islam is a little touchy. But anyway, I just noticed changes and I felt like it was, just a bubble. And then when during the Philly DNC week, I think he had Anthony Weiner on. And I think they might have been broadcasting from Philly. Maybe not, but it was during the convention and all. And he had up this picture, which I think everybody's seen now. It's a Bernie, I think a delegate in the crowd, and she's got tape over her mouth
Right.
And it's like something about silencing, and I think she has tears. And he put that picture up, and he said, "Okay, Bernie supporters, it's time to shut the fuck up." And that was it. I was done.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I would like.
No. I said, that's it.
Really
If that man, I'm trying to use nicer words right now. I'm trying. If he can stand up for Rush Limbaugh's right to run his fat mouth, and he tells the Bernie supporters to shut the fuck up, no, I'm sorry. No, Bill Maher. I went on a rant for like, I don't know, like probably 2 weeks. I just went off on everything he said. I can't stand him.
His mind for doing that shit.
Yeah, I think I would also say I'll probably say I'm a former fan. Also, like I don't want to hate the guy. I don't really want to hate anybody, you know.
Yeah, I hear you,
but he has kind of lost his mind, and I think a big problem for him is literally just Trump, just this individual. I think it's a deeply personal thing for him, and he can't step back. You know, the saying, standing too close to an elephant. I think that Bill Maher, it's deeply personal for him when it comes to Trump, because he just hates him so much. He's blinded by this furious hatred of this man.
Well, do you remember the whole orangutan thing where he?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's part of it, like being sued by this guy and dealing with all that. And on some level, I kind of get it, but like, dude, you need to be more professional than that. You need to rise above that, step back, think clearly, use some critical thinking skills, because like, I think he often comes across as stupider than he should, because I don't think he's an idiot, but I think he has this deeply personal issue when it comes to this president.
Well, the problem I have
a deep personal issue when it comes to this president. I do.
I get that. I mean, he sucks. None of us like him, of course, but
I mean, he's probably the worst president in history. I think.
Jump in there, Brian.
Yeah, my biggest problem with Bill Maher is that, and he made a brilliant statement a couple years back about how what the left needed to do was employ the same tactics as a Tea Party. We needed a Tea Party of the left. He made that statement.
Yeah.
And then just, a year and a half ago, he completely backtracks on it and says, no, that we can't engage in these same tactics because we're supposed to be above that. Bullshit.
Yeah.
It worked for them. We've got to stand by, we've got to stand our ground just the same way they did and say, no, here are our demands. We're not budging.
Yeah.
This is what we want. We're either going to get it or we're going to take the offices ourselves. It's got to be that simple.
Right.
And for him to decide that we're just going to back down, I'm sorry, you lost me.
Well, that's what I mean about him contradicting himself. It's whatever suits him, because that whole stunt where he gave Obama $1 million and we're all like, oh, yay. That he said it out loud himself. This is to protect my own interests, because I fear what will happen if we don't have him win again. I think wasn't it Obama the second run. So he's just trying to protect his own interests. That's it. That's all it is. The other thing that disgusted me was his I guess it was probably his last time he talked to Julian Assange, and he was really condescending, and it made me say, he was like, oh, well, you seem like you're better, like, so psychologically or something like that. And I thought, yeah, let's stick your ass in an embassy for that many years and see.
Yeah.
You saw that too? Oh, it really, really made me angry. I was just, so then I started tweeting like hashtag. I thought, well, I'm just going to briefly stoop to his level. And I was tweeting hashtag greasy gray mullet. And then I was like, no, I got to stop that and not be so angry.
That's funny.
It made me feel better. I was just so mad because when you have someone that I feel like I was just back when I was a fan of his was, I don't think I didn't watch Politically Incorrect. I didn't own a television in the 90s. So it wasn't until about 2006. And I had lived in the deep South among a lot of evangelical, the Trump supporting, gay hating, all of that stuff. So I think I really appreciated the way that he dealt with that. was in a really, in kind of a nasty way, but I felt like it needed that, you know, fight back with that wit and that. But as time went on, I just, you know, like a couple years later, I realized, no, he's just nasty. He's nasty, and he contradicts himself, and it's just whatever suits him at the time. And I think hating on those people, the Trump supporters, as all of you guys know, I go off on this a lot. Hating on those people, what good does it do? I mean, what good does it do? They're people too, and a lot of them vote more than others. So I mean, you kind of, I don't know. I just think it just got old, and the jokes weren't even funny to me anymore. Just weren't funny. So that's my Bill Maher rant. Mention Bill Maher. Sorry, you get an earful.
Okay.
Sorry.
But I still like him. You know, I still think he does some really good wrap-ups. His monologue at the end of it.
The new rules, yeah.
He still says some interesting things, you know. So,
yeah.
He's not all bad, you know.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that.
A lot of things that he's done, like supporting Hillary, you know, that really bugged the hell out of me.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, maybe because I watched so closely because I was a fan, you know, a lot of people don't maybe know that those other things that happened, you know, the big one was telling Bernie supporters just shut the fuck up. That was just, no.
What? Well, who's that Jewish woman at the convention that comedian that told Bernie off, or the Bernie people? She's a Jewish woman
Sarah Silverman.
Silverman.
Yes. Yeah. That was disgusting too.
She
completely or Bernie at one point.
But I didn't like that a bit. I hate it.
No, and she stood there with
I thought she was a big Bernie fan.
She was, and she stood there
after the convention. She completely flipped.
Well, no, at the convention, she stood there with.
That's right, at the convention
with Al Franken, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Grow up" or something, and
grow up, Bernie people.
Yeah.
Grow up and accept that everything is broken and you're never going to have a decent country.
And you know what? The people like her seem to forget is they have all the money that they have and the celebrity and the power they have because people go watch their movies and, you know, support them. How else do they think? I think that's changing a little bit. People are disillusioned with the politics of Hollywood in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's another thing about Bill Maher is he's a multimillionaire surrounded by millionaires. Like,
right.
Out of touch, to say the least. But, you know, on some level, I really try to go out of my way not to be too angry at somebody like Bill Maher, because I actually think one of the biggest problems we have on the left is, from what I've seen, like, I feel like, I don't know, people who are more right-wing, conservative-oriented seem to have a much easier time just bowing their head and lining up behind some strong man like Trump, or, you know, fake strong man, whatever. Like, we don't seem to be as good at genuinely uniting behind some specific thing. Like, we're always sniping at each other nonstop, like Jimmy Dore and Sam Cedar, you know?
Well, here's what I think is the difference with those of us that are more quote unquote progressive, is that we don't fall for the identity politics.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't give our allegiance to a candidate. We expect their allegiance. That's the difference, which everybody should be doing. You shouldn't just give, you know, your unconditional allegiance to some candidate because he's got, you know, a letter next to his name. You should expect their allegiance. They're supposed to be working for us. That's the difference.
Right.
By the way, I'm not a progressive. I'm just a centrist.
I don't know. I don't know about that word.
I'm for Medicare for all, and I'm for $15 minimum wage. In fact, it should be about 2022, be better.
Yes.
Et cetera, you know. So, I mean, the things that need to be done in this country, the things that need fixing are progressive issues. Yeah, the rights have their houses in order. They have everything they have ever wanted, you know, just about.
But see, a lot of those things, the populists on the so-called right, or wherever they are would agree with that too. You just strip away the labels. There's a lot of it that they would agree on. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's somebody. My dentist up in Cincinnati, he said his dad said back in the 30s, said the American people almost 100% agree on about 80% of the issues, 80 or 90% of the issues, and the Democrats and Republicans fight about the 10% of the issues to separate people to get elected. And I think that's true, that most Americans, in fact, it's one reason the 66%, they're not progressive or conservative. The ones that don't vote, they're just pissed off.
They're just left out.
Yeah, they're just left out,
Yeah, exactly.
Not left or right, they're left out. That's all they are. What they haven't had a vote in so long, they don't even relate to politics,
Yep, right.
So,
Good point.
We have some people in the chat that are really offended by our language. No, I'm just kidding. It was a bit ago. Oh, that's okay. Yes, Garden. Bill Maher is to Kelly like I am to TYT. LOL. Yeah, well, you didn't hear me going off about Cenk. I had to watch an interview by Cenk because he interviewed a candidate that we talked to this past week, the independent in Colorado, and I had to watch.
I sat through that.
I managed to sit through it. Yeah, I did. But it was, he just asked a couple of really stupid questions, I thought. Mainly how do you think you're going to get Republicans to vote for you? You're an independent in Colorado. Huh? Okay.
Republicans are really the target. You're going after the non-voters, stupid. I mean...
Well, I don't know. I think he could get some Republicans too. I'm sure he has.
But that would be dumb if that's your target. You want the non-voters. You want the people who feel just completely left out. They're the biggest group anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think Cenk was friendlier than I expected, because I expected him, like, oh, you're not a Democrat. Why are we? They seem to be on the same page of it's the splitting the vote thing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, from what little I've seen. But anyway.
Who's Cenk? What is he?
Oh, it's the Young Turks, TYT.
Yeah, Cenk is the main.
He's basically just Bill Maher on TYT. It's the same personality.
He left MSNBC years ago. The story is that he was basically, he had like the #1 show in his time slot, but he was too much like railing against the establishment and stuff and such. And basically, as the story goes, he was like pulled aside by his bosses and told, "Hey, we're insiders here, Jake. That's what we do. We're insiders, and a lot of our friends in DC don't like the way you've been talking." So they basically seems like they almost gave him an ultimatum, like chill out on some of this stuff,
but then he just
something.
went.
And he walked away and
very much like that one guy that just died, the one you like so much. It was on MSN.
No, Ed, don't put
Ed. Oh,
no, you can't do that to Ed.
No, Ed Schultz is great.
No,
he got kicked off. He got kicked off
I know. I'm just
because of his position.
Yes.
Jake walked away from MSNBC, and now he's created something kind of similar.
Yep, it is.
But Ed Schultz, though, Ed Schultz is a legend.
Yes.
I viewed Ed Schultz as like the guy that you could potentially show to a Trump supporter who's like a potentially reasonable human being and like rehabilitate them. Like Ed was the guy.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I miss him.
One of my favorite Bernie interviews was the one that Singh did on TY. That was one of my favorite interviews that people interviewed Bernie during the campaign.
I mean, TYT did a good job, but there was really nowhere else to turn during the primary
coverage.
Yeah, but as soon as it was Hillary, they just, I mean, it was like on a dime. They just flipped. All of a sudden, there was no other news, and it was just beat the anti-Trump, drum all day long. They didn't cover anything that was going on, like the fact that there were Bernie people moving over to the Green Party. I personally think Cenk's ego is so big that he didn't want to be blamed. He didn't want to be responsible for all the millennials, all of his followers, not falling in line and voting for Hillary. I think that was a component of it. He didn't want his network blamed for that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that stuff unfolding because TYT was very quickly became like my favorite place to watch election coverage, and they did a great job.
Right.
And then I remember in the closing months, as the summer was approaching, things started changing very quickly with just the way that they were talking and framing things, and just this underlying sort of message that like it was pretty much over, probably wasn't going to be Bernie, and like they were just kind of trying to prepare the audience to swallow this freaking cyanide pill. And I remember watching Jimmy and Ben just like basically fighting, and I was so pissed off seeing some of the things Ben was saying, and that's how I became a fan of Jimmy Dore, because like he was the most awesome person on there.
Now, I'm not impressed with Sam Cedar, and I can't remember exactly why, but when you said that earlier, I was going to say...
I can't stand Jimmy Dore.
Because he's the mouthpiece of the establishment.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I remember, but not specific.
He's nearly as bad as Cenk.
Yeah, I didn't even really know who he was until not too long ago, and I think YouTube just like kept kind of like trying to insist that I watch his content. So I started to. I'm like, all right, fine, Google, I'll watch some Sam Cedar. What is this guy's deal? And I, generally, so this has been like the past 2 or 3 months, and like generally if I watch something from him, I like it fine, but just when they start talking about basically Jimmy and really just like people who are a little bit more, of my way of thinking, like they call us the dumb left and shit.
Whatever, let them. It's called sticking to your principles.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's why
I really like that guy he has on there, Michael Brooks. Like, I actually really like that guy. He seems really brilliant familiar. And has
Michael Brooks. Seems like he kind of gets it.
I like a lot of what he says, but then when he starts talking about people like me, it's like, dude, I don't know why he's doing this, because he seems really intelligent.
I think it's because he's paid to.
Go ahead.
I think it's because he's paid to. I think that's honestly it. I think he gets it, but because as well as he's paid, he just toes the line.
Oh, I have heard of him. Yeah, I think, did he do an interview with Ray McGovern at some point? The best of the left? Okay.
And it's funny, who else I really like now to think about it, like, it's the Sam Cedar show, and Sam is like my least favorite person on there. Because I really like the young lady too, Jamie, I think her name is. Like, she seems like she thinks very much like I do. And she seems like her gut is like more inclined towards like, well, the Democratic Party is just like a broken fail thing, and you can't trust it at all. Like, when I so often when I hear her talk, like if I check out one of their live streams or something, she's making perfect sense, and then like Michael or whoever is trying to drag her in the wrong direction and stuff.
Sorry. I'm typing something. I admire people like Jimmy Dore that could keep his foot in the door at TYT and still speak truth to power and not waver on it.
That's why, like, most of any respect I have for Cenk comes from the fact that he still hasn't canned Jimmy. I really appreciate that, actually.
Yeah, the dumb left.
I can tell you why.
Dumb left. Yep.
Yes, there's a reason why he hasn't canned Jimmy. Jimmy is propping up TYT right now.
Yeah, I bet.
They are hemorrhaging. They are hemorrhaging subscribers. Jimmy is still gaining subscribers.
Oh yeah.
But when they say the dumb left, what are some of the things they say?
They act like we're I mean, it's really just a lot of the typical crap you hear that it's just nonsense. Like they just like act like we're immature and unrealistic and we have bad strategy and so and so and so. Like I don't even know. Just it sucks.
Well, it's because they want us to just give up and go away.
See, I think
that's what it comes down to.
They're totally missing the boat, because here's the thing that I'm sorry, I've mentioned him like 12 times now. I loved that interview this week, and the one with Helen too, both independents. Mm-hmm. But when we talked to Nick Thomas, no, that he can reach the dumb left, and that wraps around to the call them the dumb right populists or whatever. When you strip those labels away, there is that the meeting somewhere on the other side, and that is what scares the establishment more than anything. Because if Fox News viewers catch on that, you know, people that call themselves progressive, you know, that's been made a bad word now, but that they want some of the same things they do, oh, God forbid that we all like join forces, because then it becomes the people against, you know, the machine of both parties and the money. Oh, yeah. And that's where I think the key is in those independent runs, people that can reach, you know, I don't know I got to come up with a way to explain it better, but it's just meeting around somewhere on the other side where there is that, I don't know, a populist Trump.
Brian, though, the same thing you just said, you know, about, you know, the people on the majority report, Sam Cedar, basically, like they like Sam, Michael, whatever, like they basically have like a similar message to that about Jimmy. They say he's a careerist and he's just like making money while he watches the world burn and shit. Like,
what? Watches the world burn.
I mean, I'm not necessarily
I understand.
Careerist. They say that he's just like in it for himself, and he's making.
And what are they doing?
Yeah, really.
Unreal.
Has anybody heard of a guy named Ralph Nader?
Oh yeah.
My first vote.
Oh, yes. There you go. And well, Ralph Nader, he was on. What the heck did I see him on? It was an interview the other day. He has a new book out. In fact, he might have been on Bill Maher.
Oh, okay.
Really?
I can't imagine Ralph Nader on Bill Maher.
Yeah,
well, he's been on there several times, I'm sure. You know.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
But anyway, Ralph Nader wrote a book in 2014. He mentioned this book, and I remember it was called Unstoppable: the emerging left-right alliance to dismantle the corporate state.
There you go.
And he was talking about the Tea Party people and the blah, 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 that people who were against the establishment, anti-establishment, left people that are against the establishment. That is he's saying that they're unstoppable in that book, you know. Mm-hmm. But there's so many things that those people agree on the left and right.
Well, see, then you get
in, things, you know.
You do get into some tricky categories, some tricky things there, because I don't think I'm going to agree with a Tea Party person that much on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I think I think his point is...
The Tea Party people is a group of people, and there's not that many radical people in the Tea Party. Mm-hmm. It's just like back when I was, when Perot was running in 1992, there was people left and right, a whole daggone big range of people. There were very few radical people in there, left or right.
Okay.
Most people were like in the middle, like this thing that Nader's talking about, the left and right coalition.
So maybe
it's one thing. It's one reason why instead of saying the 99%, which is the Occupy Wall Street thing, well, that's people that make under $250,000 a year.
Right? Yeah.
Poor people, you know.
That's a hell of a figure.
Yeah, really.
And, or 350, 250, whatever it is, that would be in the 1%. That one reason I've been saying 99.999, because that includes people who make a lot of money, but when you get up there to the billionaire class, they make about 1/20 as much as the billionaires. Mm-hmm. And they're almost in bad a shape compared to the very, very rich people.
Yeah, so we talked about this. It's okay for you to mention your son. Is it your son or your son-in-law, or we were talking about people that are in that upper group.
My daughter-in-law is a doctor. My son teaches college. He teaches on college level, you know. So their income is, I don't know, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 a year or something. I don't know what it is. It's good, you know.
Is that there in Kentucky?
Yeah, in Louisville.
Oh, well, then they are comfortable. Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, if you're making that
yeah.
in Manhattan, it's really not that. It's not that great.
Manhattan, that wouldn't be comfortable.
No.
LA.
Well, I see some rich people up there. They're on the high end of the hog there in Manhattan, because I guess you have to make good money up there to make ends meet, I guess, you know. But anyway, the thing is, though, that 99.999%, that includes people who are millionaires but are really poor compared to the billionaires. Very poor compared to the billionaires. What the amount of wealth of the people who are at the very top is unimaginable. We cannot even imagine how much they are.
Right.
No idea.
No, I can't wrap my mind around it at all.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's just they have so much money that even the millionaires can hardly wrap their mind around how much money they have. So they're really part of our group, part of the people who can change this country. People like my son and his wife or a doctor or whatever, you know, they make good money, but they also want their children to have a good future, you know.
Right.
They have families, you know.
But
so they're concerned about the future.
When you're comfortable, it's kind of hard to get out with your pitchfork, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to even. It's hard enough to even convince people who are broke as hell that a billionaire is their enemy. Like,
right.
A billionaire.
Good point.
Well, you don't need a pitchfork, Kelly. You need a vote.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like, we're all.
Everybody has a vote.
I think part of this strategy of building the independent network is we really need to come up with really good methods of reaching those non-voters, whether it is the knocking door to door, figuring out who they are, and we've got to come up with better. I don't know how you do that, but I don't know.
You need to give people hope.
Yes,
that's all you need. Have people say, well, you know, that this is something you can do in your neighborhood, in your precinct, to change things, you know. And if you could build a mass movement based on a small number of people in precincts all over the country, and all of a sudden it's millions and millions and millions of people. But the AARP has a tremendous influence on Congress. They have 15 million people. That's a huge organization.
And those are the most reliable voters in the country, too.
Yeah, they are, yeah. That's old farts. Like,
what else are there?
All right. Yeah, I think I'm probably getting close to I'm at the 3-hour mark.
3 hours, right?
Yeah. well, we had Tim Canova show up earlier. That was really cool. I sure as hell hope he wins.
That was a real treat.
And we had Marcia Squire was going to come on. She was on briefly before we went live, but she had something come up. And then 2 other independent candidates were going to come, but they're still running. So, you know, we'll do more of this after, and I really want to keep up with, putting something together. I think with all your work you've done, Rich. But I think getting people to commit to coming on is hard right now. So.
Yeah, I really do think what I've worked on is sort of worthwhile. I think it's something that I don't know of anything. I don't know of anything in this country anywhere that I've run into that does something without raising money, that gives people something to do. I remember being in the pro campaign back in '92, and you'd have people come over. You have people lick stamps and address letters, and you send out 10,000 letters, and you get a 0.2% response. So it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
People didn't have anything to do. That was the big problem. There was people that wanted to do something but didn't have anything to do. Well, and the IBA gives people something to do, which is very, very important.
And I think I just think it's really important to keep the money out of it. You know, like Mitch was saying, that just being angered by the stupid things that come in the mail, knowing they cost $1 a piece. I think people are just sick of that. And whenever I hear, I mean, yeah, when TYT did that thing, no, that's not a political campaign, but whenever anybody's trying to gimmickly, like, give $20.20, I think Bernie did that and people got burned, and I don't think it burned, literally. I don't think it's going to happen again. That people are going to give money like that.
Bernie got burned?
I feel like everyone felt duped. I mean, for him to turn around and give that money and it went to the DNC, I mean, I never would have donated. Yeah, we feel duped, I think, largely. So whenever I hear this about donating, it just, in most cases, I think, I don't know. It's just, if we can do it without money, it's better. I think if an organization, like, I always like to brag that CFAR and CWAC is pretty much broke. We don't have any money. That means nobody's telling us what to say. Not many people are listening either, but that's okay. But, you know, it can't be corrupted if there's not money involved, really. Right. So I think anything that could function that way would and just with sheer numbers and the things we're saying, the things we're doing with no money would be much more powerful than anything money could buy if you could keep it.
It is. Going. It's just like I have a little CD, you know, like a CD has all the software for the IBA and all the other stuff that's on there. That is something that if people can, the only money's involved is if you have a software, that's $1.
Yeah.
Well,
that's minimal.
To pass it out or something, you know.
Sure.
And the other cost is $120 a year for having somebody manage the website. You know, your domain.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you can have anywhere from 2 to 50 local IBAs on a domain.
Right.
So it costs about $2 a year for somebody to do the damn web pages, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than sweat equity, the sweat equity you can put as much as you want to into that, you know.
Well, we've heard several candidates we've interviewed say they will run again in 2020. So I think that's going to be the period, you know, between, you know, now and then is building that. And if we could get, I know Helen Ollie, I can't remember exactly how she put it, Rich, but it was kind of like what you're saying of building a way for people to understand how they could run too as independents and building a network of people running as independent.
No, well, that's one thing. It's sort of daunting to go down to your Secretary of State's office or your local election board. Mm-hmm. And because some of those people are friendly, some of them are unfriendly. Mostly friendly up in Ohio. They do pretty well up there. And in Kentucky, it's okay. But they are not interested in helping you promote what you're trying to do.
Right.
You know, So if you have, so you aren't really encouraged, and there's not that many people run. There's not that many independents or minor parties. Minor parties run. They've been doing it for 20, 30 years. They get 1% of the vote, 2% of the vote. And say, well, that doesn't work. You can't win doing that, you know. So you need to have a mass movement. You need to have people involved.
Yep.
Like in Louisville, if I had 603 local precincts up, we could say, let's have a meeting.
Yep.
Have 2 people come from each precinct. We can go downtown, have 600 people show up, and have a demonstration, you know. The IBA, and we're going to change politics, you know.
Right.
And and without much effort, you could actually have people. If you have people that are involved in putting up the web pages, and you're a web page manager, and that gives you a page that you can talk about why you're involved in politics, the way you want to change things, you know. It gives everybody, it gives you an equal involvement, it gives you a voice. You know,
right,
and so they say, well, I've done this, and I think I need to do more. It's sort of, once you get people off their butt, out of their chair, and doing something, then they want to do more.
Well, if they feel like they're making a difference,
if you're like Tim Canopa, you go into politics, you've been a Democrat all your life, and then you go into run against Schultz, and you find out how dirty politics are, and you say, well, my God, I think I'll be an independent. That's a big conversion. That's a big conversion. And why did he do it? Because he ran as an independent. He found out what's there, how the system works or doesn't work. You know, he learned by running as an independent how bad it is.
Democrat,
So you get people involved in politics that are the IBA, and they see what politics is and what we're up against, you know, and say, well, I think I want this for my children and grandchildren. I want them to have a better life, you know, a better political system. So,
right.
You know.
Well, I think what we'll do then probably, because let's see, I think November 10th, we actually might, so that would be the first weekend after the election. Yeah.
Is that a first Saturday or something?
Yeah, that's a Saturday. I actually have a pretty cool guest that I think is going to come on. He's like, was an NSA guy. I just
NSA?
I got talking to him on Twitter, and he wrote a bunch of articles on Reality Winner. So I asked him if he'd come on, and he said he would.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Interesting.
Reality Winner?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
The woman that leaked the very young woman leaked the stuff to The Intercept. The lesson being, don't leak things to The Intercept. Asked John Kiriakou, and then whoever this latest guy is. Let's see. What was his name? Hang on. Terry J. Alberry is another former FBI special agent. Well, this guy that might hopefully will come on and talk to us, he just wrote an article about it yesterday. He is going to prison for 48 months. This Terry Alberry for sharing classified information with media outlet The Intercept.
Mm-hmm. Oh, The Intercept. I've heard of The Intercept. Yeah.
So don't share anything with The Intercept.
So we've decided that Glenn Greenwald is to The Intercept as Jimmy Dore is to TYT.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's their only.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. So anyway.
He's going to be a guest in November or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. So maybe we should resume. I think people are going to probably want to take a breather too. The ones that ran in 2018. But, you know, maybe end of November, early December, we'll reconvene and start, see who's wants to reflect on, their experience running. I expect if there are people that ran as a Dem, they may do what Tim Canova did and say, I'm out. I'm running as an independent next time. So that there might be more people than we know that might be on board. And
if we build a structure for people, for them to lean on, and for people to help them out, then that's going to, what do you call it, serendipity or whatever it is, when things work together, and this builds.
That would be nice. Yep. And there's an election integrity component of it too, which I'll get into another time. So some of you know a little bit about what I'm doing with that. So hopefully it's going to all be together. That would be good. So, okay, I'm going to sign off, and sorry that it didn't quite go exactly as we planned, but at least we had a surprise guest.
Kelly, I've got a couple of things. I have your address and probably nobody else's, but I'm going to go ahead and send you a couple of things on the IBA, some of the instruction pages for editing. And
maybe we can get those out to the independent candidates, ahead of time, so they have time to go over all of it.
Yeah, well, I want to get the whole damn package here. I thought I'd go ahead and send that to you so you know about what's going on, If you want to share it, that's perfectly okay, too.
Okay. All right. I can wait if you want me to wait to share it.
No, okay. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, thanks for coming again. Okay, we'll continue. Friday, we're doing a Green Party candidates panel.
Oh, Friday you are?
Mm-hmm.
What time is that?
9:30. Pat Elder in Maryland and Paul Knupp for sure. And then I need to invite everybody else and see who shows up. Okay. We need to invite all the Green Party people.
Okay, I'm a Green Party person formally.
Yeah, you're welcome to join too if you like.
She's coming, maybe listen, keep your mouth shut a little bit.
Nah, you're good. We like talkers.
Okay.
Mitch.
Well, anyway, good night, everyone.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good to see you, Greg, or hear you.
Thanks. You too.
Okay.
Don't forget to get a cozy desk.
Oh yeah, I need that on that. Okay, I will. All right. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Good night. Have a good weekend, everyone.